Meanwhile, Libertarian Republican Ron Paul has a loyal and enthusiastic following. He's expected to do well. Texas Governor Rick Perry says he'll stay in the race regardless of what happens. He and Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann predict they'll do better than expected. Turnout should be high.
What do you think?
Well, I'm caucusing for Ron Paul.
Who are you going to caucus for tonight?
Obama.
That's right, the Democrats are voting too. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz chairs the Democratic National Committee. She says their caucus will be an organizational meeting for the fall.
Well, yeah, the president is going to be live streaming into several caucus sites and also calling into caucus sites. We have 8 offices set up all over Iowa. While the Republicans are basically in a circular firing squad, we've used this time to gear up to run the most effective, significant grassroots presidential campaign in history.
Iowa, the prairie state where it all starts, and for some may end as well.
Now, once again, the tallies coming out of these caucuses indicate, as we expected, the top 3, Ron Paul apparently leading, and Mitt Romney as well as Rick Santorum very close. In fact, it's just a couple of hundred votes separating them, we understand, and it's too close to call. I believe the Romney camp is hoping for a larger turnout in the urban areas where they believe his a little bit more moderate approach to some of these issues will benefit him with some of the more urban voters. We shall see. Reporting live from Des Moines, Iowa, Raj, Jessica, back to you.
Okay, Conan, thank you very much. So as Conan was saying, it's too close to call. Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney, and Ron Paul. So what happens in Iowa doesn't necessarily stay in Iowa. But the question is, does it really matter? Let's bring in our NBC Bay Area political analyst, Larry Gerston, who joins us now. And Larry, you know the drill. Mike Huckabee wins the Iowa caucus back in 2008. Is it relevant anymore?
Well, it's relevant certainly if you don't come in well enough. That's all there is to it. You got these 3 right now who are, by the way, the latest figures I have are 0.2 of a point apart. Those 3, Santorum, Paul, and Romney. So yeah, each of these guys has to do well, and they'll get a pass, if you will. Gingrich, 10 points behind. Not so good, you know, considering all the flair he had just a couple of weeks ago. And then the others fall even further behind. So it's really a winnowing process in Iowa, Raj. And so you'll want to be up there to go on to the next one.
It's so much attention, and this is historically through the last 30 or 40 years in Iowa, but does the emphasis on Iowa, at least in the early going here, how much does Iowa reflect the rest of the nation? Obviously in California, demographically, it's polar opposites here.
Yeah, it's such a good question, because if you take a big step back, over the last 40 years, only twice has the person who's won Iowa gone on to be president. So that puts it in perspective. Why? Well, if you take a look at this chart, it shows you the demographic breakdowns of the voters in Iowa, the nation, and California. And you look at it and you say, holy smokes, Iowa's a whole lot different from the United States, and in fact, even more so from California. You see this in the racial and ethnic breakdown, and so it tells you the kinds of voters who come out here are going to be much different than the voters we see in Iowa. And Iowa is really isolated in that sense. There's no question about it.
Okay, Democrat or Republican or wherever you stand in the middle, left or right, so many times it's Iowa, it's Florida, it's South Carolina. Where does California come into it with this primary? And I know this year it's going to be a little different. We actually have some say.
Yeah, June 5th, you would say, oh my goodness, what now? It's at the end. But guess what? We may be in for a pleasant surprise this year for 2 reasons. First, the Republican contests before April 1st, and that's most of them, by the way, must award delegates proportionately rather than the winner-take-all system Republicans have used in the past. Now, that makes it harder for any one candidate to scoop up big chunks of delegates in any particular primary. Second, the Republicans, and Democrats for that matter, have stretched out the process this year. When we talk about Super Tuesday in 2008, 31 states participated. That's why it was Super Tuesday. This time, Super Tuesday, you might call it Mini Tuesday, because only 10 states will participate. You put those 2 facts together, the new rules and the fact that they're stretching out this thing, and guess what? It may drag out right until California's primary, and with 173 delegates, more than any other state, this state and the way the delegates flow to the winners could tilt the outcome one way or another, something we haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, very good. California could be relevant once again in terms of this perspective. Thank you, Larry, for your insight. And about 25 minutes remaining now until those Iowa caucuses, the polls close. And once again, it's Santorum, Romney, and Paul. Too close to call at this point. For complete election coverage, remember to go to our website, NBCBayArea.com. Just click on our special political section. We call it Prop 0. There you can find insight by our political insiders, including our very own Larry Gerston. That's on NBCBayArea.com.
An Oakland man known for helping kids go to college is fighting to keep his own home tonight. He's disabled and says that the only way he'll leave is if sheriff deputies carry him out. Leonard Wilson got the notice that he would be evicted this morning. He's lived in his home for 26 years, first as a renter and then as a homeowner. He's been in a wheelchair since he broke his neck. Wilson has been getting help trying to buy time to save his house.
You can't live for free, and I'm not trying to live for free, but I am trying to live with the dignity that anybody else wants. You know, nobody should be put out on the streets for something that they didn't do. You know, I didn't do this. I didn't bring this upon myself.
Wilson is having a forensic audit conducted on his finances to prove that his foreclosure was improper. He'll be back in court on Friday, but he doesn't know what will happen between now and then and whether or not he'll be evicted. The man authorities call the most dangerous arsonist in LA history will appear in court tomorrow for charges that he allegedly set 50